Good morning, all. Welcome to another episode of Shared Light with Dusty and JR. I am obviously JR.
And I'm Dusty.
How is it going?
It's going.
Good. As some of you may not notice, if you're watching on YouTube or I guess it would just be YouTube that does the video, right?
Yeah.
The background has been changing a little bit. We did throw in a couple of episodes to hit our mental health awareness month. That's for May. And then we scheduled some stuff that we had previously recorded, and now we're back to the new background. Do want to call out and just remind everybody that we do have new merch on the website, www.sharedlightpodcast.com. In the shop section of our website, we will be uploading new designs as Dusty has time to make stuff up. We are currently wearing, some hoodies that we had made. I think the ones that are on the website will not have our actual podcast on the top here, like these ones are. But more than anything, we just wanted some cool designs that will allow you to spread the message of sharing your light. And in other news, we are continuing our business venture. It's been a little bit slow going, but some of that is because my focus right now is very much in school, and we've had a lot of internal stuff going on here at home with our little one. Our focus has shifted slightly, but we still are committed to helping others and doing what we can to share our message and help where we can. On that note, again, back to our regularly scheduled program. And we did want to touch on an idea that kind of goes without saying, I feel like, but it's good to talk about. And that is the idea of why marriages need protection.
Yeah. I don't know if I think it's something people probably assume, but don't really talk about a whole lot. I mean, I don't feel like it's a huge topic of conversation.
Yeah. And when I say protection, I'm not saying fear-based, God, we need to do this because of whatever. It's more of we've talked about it before, about that intentional side of your marriage and what you do to maintain that marriage at a level that you both feel it needs to be.
Yeah.
Because
not just protecting it, but maintaining it.
Right. Because I mean, we've talked about it in the past, that marriage, like with everything else in this world, is a lot of work. I mean, we've put in a lot of work to get where we are.
Daily.
So it is a machine or a system that you have in place. You have to consistently maintain to make sure that it is firing optimally and to make sure that you're getting the value out of it that you should be. So with that said, we are going to highlight some things that are pretty common for us that maybe we underestimate from time to time that create pressures. We're going to talk through maybe the ideas that might be a little bit of a myth that strong marriages just kind of run themselves. Because like I say, we put in a lot of work.
Intentional work.
Right. And a lot of that starts with building an emotional safety net.
Yeah. And we talked about that a few episodes back, about how to build that safety net.
Well, and the idea being that that safety is what creates the foundation when things do get a little bit crazy. We mentioned that we've had a lot of crazy going on lately. With that comes a lot of, I don't want to say unresolved feelings, but it does stir up some feelings that you're working through. It adds stress to everything. I get short. Maybe I've got my mind elsewhere. So
it pulls you different directions. And so you have to be very reliant on that safety net. And you have to be maybe more intentional in those moments at those times.
Yeah.
Because you are getting pulled so many different directions.
Well, and the idea is to create the opportunity to be in a zone where everything is very judgment free, right? Where you're able to be vulnerable about how you're feeling, where I'm able to be vulnerable about how I'm feeling, and being able to practice that with each other without flipping it and turning it into attack against the other one.
Right. Yeah. It's kind of when you have to really hold on to the whole us versus the problem, because it's very easy when I'm being pulled this direction and you're pulled this direction and you get in those feelings and you get emotional or you get upset, or it's very easy to take that out on your person because they're your person. You're the only person I'm with all the time. every day. And so it's very easy for me to put that onto you and forget that, oh, yeah, we're a team. This is something he can actually help me with and not something I need to put on him or argue with him about.
Well, but the other side of that is that your natural inclination anyway is to be that with the person that you're most feel safe with because you
Yeah.
again, you're trying to build that judgment-free zone. So to that point, if she is feeling some sort of way, I should be in the state of mind that I understand there's a lot going on. How do I approach this so that I don't get defensive, I don't get dismissive, I don't react from a place that is not from the light, and help create a safe place for us to discuss or work through whatever issues might be going on. Because at the end of the day, that safety net, for all intensive purposes, should create a reduction in conflict and really should help increase the intimacy between the two of us and whatever, your partner, whoever your person is that you have that safety with. In our instance, it's like we're talking about, right? Like trying to protect that marriage and what we do to be intentional in protecting that. One of those things is that emotional safety. It's that safety net, being able to be vulnerable in a space with each other that we know we can be as ugly and as messy as we need to be because it's not going to make me love you any less. It's not going to anything like that.
It's just going to open more communication. We know that the end goal is not separation, or so that's part of our safety net is we can be open and honest and vulnerable with each other because we know the other one's not going to say, okay, well, I can't do this anymore. Or
Yeah.
so it creates that safety.
Well, and that communication is very much that, right? Is that you're communicating to further protect what you have. So if I react in a manner that, or communicate in a manner that challenges that safety, it's not going to strengthen what we're working to strengthen. So for us, the common goal is always how do we get better as a team? How do we get stronger as partners? How do we continue growing together? And that's what you should want in a marriage, I
Yeah.
feel, because that, I mean, this is the person that you've committed your life to. It needs to be both of you working towards a goal, a mutually shared goal.
Yeah. I mean, you should be.
And that shared goal, part of it should be strengthening your marriage. But again, it's not necessarily just about talking more. It really is about trying to talk in a manner that strengthens. I think that, so that was like something that I think particularly I struggled with in the beginning when we started talking about your anxiety, right? Was that I just needed to talk about it because I didn't understand it, and but wasn't really doing anything to make it
Yeah.
better or to shift the conversation in a manner that you felt safe talking about it. I don't think it was until we finally just sat down and did our non-negotiables that we came to a place where it's like, okay, we know what the common goal is now. How do we shape our conversations so that they reflect that, even in heated conversations?
Yeah. I think some of that was just because not that you were scared, but I think we both still had that fear. So it was like we were talking, yes, but we weren't talking intentionally about the things that we needed to talk about because we still kind of had that fear of, yeah, but if I do talk about this, it might be in their mind like the end all. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. And then having a general understanding that even when you do communicate in a manner that you're trying to protect everything, there's going to be times where you're going to fail.
Yeah.
Unfor-
Well, I mean, nobody's perfect.
and that's it. And
And no
that's,
marriage is perfect. So there's going to be times that you fail,
yeah,
and there's going to be times that you mess up and you do things or you say things that not damages your marriage, but it's just like there's just going to be things in your marriage that your marriage is going to take a hit.
right. And you should be able to understand that something that truly protects a marriage more than anything is how you repair those or how you at least
Hmm.
attempt to repair those. And because I think especially like for us, I think those are what matter more than even some of the positive conversations we have. Because even when we do make a mistake or do whatever, we're both very open to owning it and understanding what, crap, I didn't see it that way. I didn't see your perspective. You didn't see my perspective. And it's
Yeah.
okay. Well, maybe even if I don't agree with it, it's still something that we're trying to work through.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think once you have those times or those moments and then you work on the repair and you do the repair, I think that's what makes you grow even more. That's where the growth comes from. It's not just from sitting and talking for hours and hours and hours about things that don't matter. It's when you actually get down to the nitty-gritty of repairing that hit in your marriage. That's when it opens up more growth.
And understanding the difference between being honest and just being harsh.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people think, and I'm one of those. I'm not going to discount that I can be one of those, right? That even though you're being honest, you should have some tact, or at least approach it in a manner that's not just brutally honest to the point where you're hurting someone's feelings. Even if it is true, that's not the intention.
No. And I think there's ways to talk about those type of things and not be hurtful and not be disrespectful, and you can still be honest about it and talk about what you want to talk about, but you don't have to be ugly and
Well,
disrespectful and mean and hurtful.
and that goes back to that whole, I mean, there's a way to argue without damaging your relationship. Like, we have disagreements all the time,
Yeah.
but we're not ones that I'm not going to belittle her, or I'm not going to come at her in a manner that's like making
No.
her feel 2 inches tall, or trying to prove my superiority or anything like that. It's just a disagreement.
Yeah.
It's like sometimes we just don't, our perspectives don't align,
Yeah.
or
We've never really communicated that way though, but I mean, we definitely don't now. We have a different, I mean, our communication's different than it was before, but even before, we've never communicated that way. We're just not individually those kind of people that want to intentionally hurt the other person or,
I mean, I've been around some couples that are like that. I
yeah,
mean, they will say some mean things just to,
just to say them and,
yeah, I mean, just to get a reaction from their partner.
yeah, to get a reaction or to, I think a lot of the times maybe it's, they're hurting, so they want their partner to feel that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That hurt that they're feeling, and so they lash out and they're mean and they're hurtful. I mean, fortunately, we've never communicated that way. We haven't been mean or disrespectful, and like we've said it before, we're not. Neither one of us are level 10 people. We don't scream at each other. We don't yell at each other. There's just other ways to communicate what you're saying, and I think get the point across even better when you're not being mean or
Well,
hurtful.
you're more apt to at least get the other person to hear out what you're saying in that aspect. Because when you do approach it the other way, natural response is fight or flight.
Yeah, and I think the on the receiving end, if you were to ever come at me that way about something, I wouldn't receive any part of what you were trying to say. All I would receive is the hurt or the disrespect. That's
Yeah.
the part I'm going to remember about the conversation.
Yeah.
I'm not going to remember what you were actually trying to portray or what you actually needed to talk about.
So, and one thing that gets lost, I think, for a lot, especially with like busy people, I consider myself pretty busy. I have a lot going on at home, at work, at school, trying to do things to just keep myself from going crazy. So, I mean, I do have a pretty full plate. But one thing that gets lost on marriage and protecting your marriage sometimes is that threat, or trying to guard from that threat of external factors. One of those for me is huge, and that's like schedule overload, or
Burnout.
yeah, I start to feel burnt out or stressed or whatever at work. And we just talked about it earlier, right? My mind is not here. It's on work, or it's on, the 50 million other stressors that I have going on.
Yeah.
And then when you do try to talk to me, it's like I'm short, or I'm just not engaged in what we're talking about, or whatever it may be. And that can, erode some of that safety. Because then especially like in our instance, or in our situation, right, where you deal with some anxiety anyway, it really just compounds that.
Yeah.
But I think in every relationship, that's probably one of the biggest threats to protecting a marriage, is that it's real easy to get into your own lane and start really just focusing on yourself and what you have going on.
And everything on the outside, work, school, whatever it may be, friends. And so I feel like that's you have a full plate, and it's not something that we do, but I know that a lot of people do, is they compare. And so that erodes some of that emotional safety, because it's like, well, I have such a full plate. I'm doing this, 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 and this. And then, oh, but you're not. Like, you can't see that the other person also has a full plate. You're comparing yourself to each other and who's more busy, who's more, you know what I mean? So that can create not just distance, but also you kind of break down your that emotional safety net that you're trying to build or already have built.
Right. And then one that I know we have discussed at length privately, but that idea of like an emotional affair or a boundary drift between, individuals outside of each other, because that for you is a big fear driver.
Yeah.
Is something that,
It's a huge boundary for me.
yeah. And it can happen, right? So, I mean, we've talked about it can, I guess,
Mhm.
happen if you're not truly intentional and truly invested in what is happening within your marriage.
Right. And not just even, I think emotional affairs are so much scarier, I guess, than like a physical because a lot of times people don't really know that they're putting themselves in those situations, especially if you're not focused and intentional on your marriage. And then you're having conversations with other people, emotional conversations, personal conversations. Over time, that starts building that emotional affair without you even realizing it. You're just like, oh, I'm having, a conversation with a friend but over time, as those conversations keep going and they keep getting deeper and they keep getting more constant, more frequent, that creates another bond with somebody outside of your marriage. That creates that emotional bond, which is such a boundary for me. And I think that's even, I think, like I said, scarier for me personally than like a physical affair.
Which I mean, I agree that it can happen if you're truly not invested in what you're doing. And this is where we have differed in perspective quite a bit,
Hmm.
is I would disagree that you don't know that it's happening.
Yeah. I mean, it depends on the person, I guess. Some people don't. They think it's just innocent. But for me, it's such a boundary for me that I'm like, don't have those conversations with other men. I will not have them because I know that it's a possibility. You're more open to be like, because of where you work and what you do. I'm a mentor. I help people. I want to see them grow. And so for you, I feel like the boundary is different. There's definitely a boundary of, yeah, I'm not going to go in and talk to like another woman about intimacy or things like that.
Right.
But that's not where emotional affairs start. Like you don't just start off talking about intimacy and having these real deep conversations. Those start after you've been having all these other conversations that are innocent.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Like I say, I see your perspective. I just don't always necessarily agree with how,
They come about.
yeah, because I think it's definitely easier to fall into that if you're not invested in what you're doing with your partner.
Definitely.
And if you're unhappy and if you are really leaning into that other person for that
That
emotional
yeah.
connection,
If you're
right?
if you're seeking that
Yeah,
from
right,
because you're not getting it at home.
right,
And I know that's where you differ because for you in your eyes, you're like opposite. I am happy. We are intentional in our marriage. We are happy. We have that safety net. But for me, it's always, and that's how I am with it. Like I'm very black and white that way. No, it can still happen no matter what. I just won't ever put myself in that situation.
So, and again, that's one of those topics that we have talked about and we talk
we,
about and we continue to talk about.
we agree, but we disagree at a level, another
Yeah.
level.
I mean, I again see the side of yes, it can happen because of XYZ, and you just think, oh no, it can just happen. And I think that's where we differ a little bit. But, outside of that, something else external that actually a lot of people probably don't even know or realize that can create potential threats in a marriage is family
Same friends.
and social media to
Yeah.
a point. I mean, I'm not a big social media guy anymore. I was, but it's just not,
think
I don't have time for it really.
I think all of that can be such a big influence on your marriage because, well, social media influence, of course, because you only see the perfection on social media. And so if you're comparing your marriage to that or you're comparing your relationship to that, it's never going to live up. For one, they're only showing the perfect parts of their marriage or even portraying that it's perfect and it's not. So you're never going to be able to live up to that. But it's also family and friends can have a big influence on not just your marriage, but how intentional you're being in your marriage and not just them because maybe they don't like your partner or whatever, but also if you're giving your time, just like work, if you're prioritizing and giving that time to all these other people and you're only leaving a small amount for your partner, that's going to create an issue.
Yeah. And that's one side of it. I look at the other side of it. And this is something that I don't know that we've talked about. Maybe we have talked about. So Dusty was not very well liked when we got married by my family. So I look at it from how it could have affected our marriage, because there was a lot of just little chatter or back talk. And that adds stress to
That person.
that. It also, whether we like to believe it or not, starts to shape our bias of that person that we're married to and their intentions and their perspective, and all of these things that as a married couple you're supposed to be working through on your own and shaping together so that you guys can be a unified front. In my situation, I chose my wife, but there are situations where people choose their family.
And that's a hard one because you always hear family first, and a lot of people differ in that opinion. Luckily, my family likes you and loves you, but
which shout out to Dusty's family.
See,
Because
they love you more than me.
I look at it in terms of a dad, and if my girls came home with somebody I had never met, I would not like him. You would not pay me enough to like him.
But I feel like it's a lot of people don't. If they feel they need to choose, they're not going to choose their partner because they feel like I have to choose my mom or I have to choose my dad, or because that's my family, and that's a whole nother topic. But your partner, especially if you're married and you're trying to build your relationship, you need to choose your partner.
And even with friends, I mean, there's a really good chance that friends aren't going to like the fact that you're taking their friend away from them for all intensive purposes. And now he or she is spending time with this other person more than they're so it's.
And that goes with family too.
Right.
Like a mom can feel like you're taking my son away or you're taking my daughter away. And then they start to create those issues between you two, or they start to have that, you need to spend more time with me because they want you away from your partner. So that's just something that you have to be intentional about, and you have to choose your partner at the end of the day and choose that relationship and not listen to or be persuaded by family, social media, what you think a marriage should be. Well, your marriage is going to be what you make of it and what you choose and how intentional you are.
That's a perfect segue into, another tool for protecting a marriage is that idea of boundaries, setting healthy boundaries. Personal boundaries, marital boundaries.
You have to have boundaries.
Right. We have very strict boundaries. I think a lot of them are unsaid, but we have very strict boundaries about what we will or will not talk about in terms of our relationship with other people, because it's our business. It's not, and that's one boundary that it's one of those non-negotiables for me, right? Like, I'm not going to talk about what's going on with us with anybody but her, because that's where I feel like some of that boundary drift starts to happen.
Blurring the lines.
Right. And then having personal boundaries, like understanding that there are things that she doesn't like or that I don't like that I'm not going to make her do or ask her to do or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And vice versa, right? Boundaries aren't bad.
No. Healthy boundaries.
Right.
There's a difference in healthy boundaries and being controlling. I feel like we have marital boundaries, we have personal boundaries, but we don't control each other. It's a mutual boundary that we don't put ourselves in situations where going to lunch with another man, another woman, going to dinner, or going to whatever it may be. Those are things that we put in place intentionally because that's healthy for us and that's healthy for our marriage. It's not you saying you're not allowed to go and have dinner with another man. That's controlling. If it's something that I want to do and you're telling me I can't do it, that's different than we have set these boundaries for our marriage. Does that make sense?
Well, and that kind of lends into the idea of communicating, right? So, and we've actually ran into this with people where I'll ask you something. For me, it's really weird because I don't get it. But like, I'll ask you if you're okay with something that I'm going to do. And like, they get all bent out of shape because I'm asking
permission.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's a big one in marriages and relationships.
In my mind, it's like, no, I'm not asking permission.
No.
I'm just maybe she wants to do so. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think for us, it's more like, well, I don't know, because maybe she has something going on, or maybe he has other plans or wanted to do something, or in his mind, maybe that's something he isn't comfortable with. Or so I think for us, it's just a courtesy more than it is like asking permission
Yeah.
from each
So
other.
I don't know. To me, it's always been kind of one of those strange things where I'm like, well, why wouldn't you want to talk to your partner about what you're doing?
Yeah, like why wouldn't I tell him or ask him, run it by him? Hey, thinking about doing this on Saturday.
Right. You don't know what the other person has going on, or I don't know.
I
Like I
think
say,
I just think some people see it as controlling.
it,
Like I have to ask permission from my partner to do something with my friend, or and that's just not for
no, I
us,
mean,
it's not that way.
to your point, it's a courtesy, but it's more like a respect thing. Like
Mhm.
I respect your time enough to know, or I respect our relationship enough to know that, hey, maybe you've made some plans for us, or you've
Yeah.
got some things that we need to do that I'm not thinking about, or whatever it
Yeah.
may be.
But I think too, like you said, it's a respect thing because we never not know where the other person's at. I mean, 99% of the time we're together, but when we're not, you always know where I'm at, or I know where you're at. There's never a
Well, I mean, you stalk me, but that's okay.
I do stalk you. But there's never a time where it's like you get off work at 3:30 or whatever, and then you don't come home till 8 o'clock, and then you just walk in, and I'm like, "Well, where the hell have you been? What you been doing?" That's
Right.
never a thing and for us anyway, because we just have that respect for each other that it's like, "I'm going to do this," or "I'm going this place," or "This is where I'm gonna be."
Well, and that's what I feel like that's one of those boundaries that we have, right? Yes, people may see it however they want to see it, but the reality of it for us is it's just like, hey,
It's
I'm
just a
okay.
healthy
Yeah,
boundary.
I'm okay with her knowing what's going on. Like I feel like the opposite of that is just working or trying to be secretive or whatever, I guess. I don't know. Like I say, to me, it's one of those that I've never understood, even when people have approached it like, well, why are you telling her what? Why
Well, and I
wouldn't
think
I?
maybe some people feel like that's an invasion of my privacy. I don't why do they need to know everything or where I'm at all times, or but I guess for us, for me anyway, I just see it as like I want him to know where like you said, there's nothing to hide from either one of us, and so why wouldn't I tell you?
Yeah,
And half the time it's I'm with my mom or whatever and we're out and of course I'm gonna let you know because maybe you want to come to lunch or
yeah.
you know what I mean? But I know it's not that way for everybody, but I mean it can be. I think it's comes back to how you perceive that. And instead of perceiving it as he's controlling me or she's controlling me, you can like set those healthy boundaries of what each person is comfortable with and take away that perception of it's controlling.
Well, and I mean, for a lot of people, it's just a matter of like for you, right? You get instantly worst case scenario if you don't hear from somebody.
Mhm.
And it's not even that he's cheating. Oh, she hates me. It's like irrational fear of like, oh my God, something happened to them. Right. So for a lot of those situations, it's just about your partner wanting to know that you're safe wherever you are or whatever it may be. And again, it's for me, it's that respect thing. She's my wife. She deserves to know what I'm doing or where I'm going to be or whatever it may be. If I decide for some random reason to go to a bar someday, I'm going to let her know I'm going to the bar. You want to meet me here? What do you want to do? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not that I mean, like I say, I don't drink. I don't really do anything like that, but she's the one I want to hang out with anyway. So why am I not going to let her know?
Yeah. But again, I think that comes back to outside influences and how you're prioritizing those because we don't I mean, not that our families are not a priority. We don't really have friends, and so that's not really an outside influence for us, but it's how you prioritize those people in your life. My mom would never be against that, but she would never like, if she did ever come to me and say, "That's too controlling. Why is he controlling you? Why do you have to tell him your every move or wherever we're" that's letting an outside influence
I mean,
persuade that for me.
it's the perception of somebody else that now is affecting your relationship with your partner.
Right.
Is what it boils down to.
Yeah. I mean, my mom would never do that, but
Yeah, no,
as just an example.
your mom probably wants me to ask more about where you're at so that if she can't get a hold of you, I know. And then, another one that I see, and it's kind of funny because I see a lot of reels on it when we doom scroll about like the phone thing, right?
Mhm.
Guys being real scared of their girlfriends grabbing their phones or whatever.
Yeah.
I actually saw a funny one the other day where it talked about the priorities changing and she went to reach
Oh,
and there
for
was a
his
phone
phone.
for, yeah. And like,
He grabbed his food.
yeah,
He thought she was gonna get his food.
but
That would
Um,
probably be you grabbing your food like,
but I mean, the boundaries there is, I mean, yeah, I guess to a point you could argue that you should respect your partner's privacy,
yeah,
but the other side of that is like, what are you hiding?
yeah. I mean,
Like if you're not doing shady things, not like DMing people or texting people
that you shouldn't
that you
be
shouldn't be or talking.
or looking at things you shouldn't be.
Right.
I know that's probably a big one for people is the phone thing, and I guess I see it as if I ever feel like I need to go through your phone and look at everything, then there's an issue. Either I'm struggling or you're struggling. There's an issue between us.
Yeah.
And there's nothing on my phone that I would be ashamed for you to see. And I think that's kind of the bottom line is if you have to hide it from your partner, you shouldn't be doing it. And
Right.
you know you shouldn't be doing it.
Right. So something real big in protecting a marriage is that idea of intimacy,
Mm.
which I think we may have an episode on intimacy soon.
Yeah.
But so we're just going to kind of cover it a little bit high level right now. But there needs to be very intentional care put in the way you protect intimacy with your partner, whether that be emotional, physical, spiritual. It all needs to be very intentional because if any one of those is not treated with care, you run the risk of alienating your partner.
Hmm. Yeah, and I think it's not just about physical. I think when people think intimacy, they think physical intimacy and sex, and it's not
Right.
just about that. Women are different in that to have that physical, you have to be emotionally connected before they can really be engaged and want that physical. And so I think not just protecting the intimacy, but being intentional about it and that's some that's part of maintenance in your marriage,
Yeah. I mean,
you know?
you have to be able to have that emotional connection just as much as you have that physical connection. And really, you should also both have a spiritual connection of some sort, whatever that may be for the two of you. Most of the times when you hear people talk spirituality, you're thinking religion, and that's not
Mhm.
necessarily the case. I do not consider myself a religious guy, but I do consider myself very spiritual in the fact that I have my own beliefs and my own ideals. They may or may not align with my wife's ideals, but at the end of the day, we both know that we have a strong connection to a force outside of our marriage
Yeah.
that we both hold in high regard.
Yeah.
And through that, it strengthens everything else, the emotional connection that we have with each other, which, I mean, to be honest, in that emotional side of it, really for me, on my end, it really breaks down to the communication that we have, because that is the one time that amongst all of the multiple masks and hats that I wear throughout my day, that is the one time that I can be completely raw with another person that sees me for everything that I am flawed in. That helps build that for me. That's the connection that I gravitate toward, right? So to your point, I mean, it's not just about sex. It's not, I know a lot of people, especially younger people, I feel like really lean on that. But I feel like honestly, sex is a byproduct of everything else that you're connecting with.
Yeah, I think, the emotional, the spiritual need to be
Like
nurtured before.
you can be physically intimate with
Yeah,
somebody and not have
without.
sex.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not just about sex. It's about the physical can be cuddling, it can be
Holding hands. It
holding
can be
hands, it
a
can be
hug. It can be
kissing before you leave for work. Those are all intimacy. Those are all things that I think all three of them come into play and kind of nurture each other. When you have the emotional and the physical and the spiritual, they kind of just help each other out and play off of each other. Makes one makes the other better.
right. And a way, I'm not going to say it's the only way, but a one strategy in helping protect that intimacy is remaining curious about your partner, whether it's their emotional needs, their physical needs, their spiritual needs. I mean, we are very curious about what's going on with the other daily.
Yeah.
Um, you know,
Because those things over time do change in people
yeah. I mean, they can change from
day to day.
from hour to hour. And there will be times when your idea of intimacy and your partner's idea of intimacy may not be the same.
Yeah.
That I think, I mean, I think I would say that we might have been there for a little while where we didn't really.
Yeah. Well, I think it comes back to like a lot of things. It comes back to the communication that you have. We didn't have the communication. We didn't have the emotional connection that we do now. And so, of course, like our intimacy was not aligned. You had no idea that I needed the emotional before the physical or and we also like not just in sex, but we also didn't take the time to be intentional about texting each other every day, kissing before we go to work, being out in public and holding hands and showing emotion that way.
Which I struggle with that one. I mean, I still
Mhm.
struggle with that one because I mean, I was
Yeah.
brought up that that is not okay.
Yeah, public affection.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's like, I think that when you're not aligned that way, the only way to repair that is communication and again, being intentional, you know. That's something that we've had to work on and it's not something that you can just talk out. It's you have to be intentional in like we just said, the emotional part of it, the spiritual part of it, the little things that keep that intimacy alive every day.
Over time is what matters more, is all those small gestures.
Mhm.
Because I mean, yeah, we could go spend a weekend in Jackpot or wherever, and it's great. I mean, it's fun. I'm not going to say that we're not connected or whatever, but if that's all you're leaning on,
Right.
that fades really
That's
fast.
not gonna sustain you for the next 5
And
years.
that I think that really comes into play when you're in your honeymoon stage because in the beginning everything is really exciting and nice and fun
Yeah,
and you have a lot of that intimacy,
yeah,
but if you don't continuously work on it and gradually find new methods to make sure that your partner and you are on the same level, that's why a lot of people falter after that initial period
'cause
and start having issues.
it's not gonna sustain you for 30, 40 years. That's something you have to work on and it's something that you do daily in those small gestures, and that's part of protecting the intimacy part of your marriage.
One big one, especially for us lately, really more for me, because I think I stress about it more than you do, but the financial unity of how you approach your finances as a married couple. Money is going to be at points in your life one of the biggest
Yes.
stressors on your entire marriage. It's just one of those inherent evils that you have to deal with. And at some points in time, you'll feel like you've got it all figured out. And at
Mhm.
some points in time, you're struggling to pay the rent. We've been on both sides of it. And one of the things that I think helps us is, I mean, we're both very transparent in the goals that we have for where we want our finances to be, for where we want, our lives to go, what we're doing to get there. But another one, and this one is key, I think, is that we're not trying to hide our finances from each other. And I think that's a trap that a lot of couples get into because one person starts to stress out about this or that and they start, sneaking around trying to get more money. And then it's like, it can derail everything that you
Or
guys have built.
spending. Being secretive about spending, I know is a big one for people.
Yeah. I mean, you have to have a team mindset around your guys' marriage. I mean, we look at it kind of like a business. Like, this is the money we got coming in, this is the money we can have going out.
Right. But we're both even though you are the one that does the actual, budget and spreadsheet and pays the bills, I'm always aware. I have full access to everything. Like I know what's going on at all times, even if I'm not the one doing it. You're not ever hiding
Yeah, I'm
anything
not trying.
from
Like,
me
I'm not trying to hide.
or
I'm not trying to hide that
yeah.
we're broke right now.
Yeah. Or that you have, all this other money sitting somewhere that you're saving for something secretive or you know what I mean? Like that's just not I know it probably is for some people, but it's not for us.
In my estimation, if you get to that point where you're starting to hide finances, like
Yeah.
you're looking for a way out. That's just my opinion,
Yeah.
myself. I mean, you're already starting to function like somebody who is not invested in what you're both doing.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It's not even looking for a way out, but you're not living in your marriage. You're not being a team. You're not meeting working towards goals together. You're not doing this together. You're doing it separate.
Yeah, it's hard. It can get really hard. Money, aside from everything else you got going on, that is one thing that you are always going to have as a stressor in your marriage. Always. It's not
Yeah.
even a matter of, oh, well, someday we'll be fine, because having a lot of money also brings on different stresses.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, especially if you don't have that communication and those shared goals and
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah. I mean, if I go out and buy $100,000 car just because we freaking hit the lottery or something and not talk to you about it, that's going to create some tension in a marriage, regardless of how much money you've got.
Right.
So it's one of those things that I feel like might be right up there with one of the biggest potential things that can damage a marriage. But I would say that the hardest and most prevalent issue that can destroy a marriage if you're not careful is yourself. So I have talked about it
Yeah.
a lot of times, right? I have a huge ego. I can get very defensive, and I am a very prideful guy. If I do not allow myself to subside that ego,
Hmm.
to get past my own insecurities and to swallow my pride, that is going to create a very negative outcome in every interaction that we have, like in a marriage. That's just whether you want to believe it or not, and whether you want to admit it or not.
Part of it is admitting it.
At the end of the day, the thing that will destroy a marriage faster than anything is your own self.
Yeah. And I think for me, that looks like my past showing up, my past relationships, my past patterns that I've had known time and time and time again. We still deal with it today. Those show up. Those can alter how I'm feeling, the thoughts that I'm having. And that's on me. That's something that can easily, over time, destroy our marriage if I'm not being open about it, if I'm not talking about it, if I'm not willing to work on it.
And that's the biggest driver, is that you have to be willing to work on yourself. Self-care is by far the one bit of advice I could give anybody
Hmm.
to just help add a tool that can help you in marriage, in any relationship, not just in marriage. I mean, it's just going to help you in life. Being able to take care of yourself, truly understand what makes you tick, truly understand the blind spots that you have. And I've still got a lot of them. I'm not going to say that I don't.
We all do.
But I have, for the better part of 5 to 6 years now, really just done a deep dive on a lot of things I didn't like.
Yeah.
And I'm in a better spot now, but there's still a ton that I don't know. But with each, growing phase of that self-care and self-healing, it brings your marriage, I feel like it brings us closer for sure. I feel like it's improved our marriage because I was able to finally let that ego go. At least with you. I mean, I still got a pretty huge ego. And I can still get defensive, but I'm working on it.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like the work that you've done on yourself has allowed me to heal and start to be better about myself and things that come up from my past that affect us, because now I can be openly honest and emotional and vulnerable about those things and how I'm feeling, because you are able to put that ego aside or put that pride aside. Because for me, I'm not going to come to somebody that I know is going to not just make me feel bad about it, but also it's going to make yourself. I'm not going to make you feel bad because I'm coming to you about something that we're struggling with or we have an issue with or that's bothering me. And so I would rather just keep it to myself unless I have that safety net that I know
Well,
that
and
I have with you now.
I feel like, and not even just me in particular, but I feel like the more you're able to reflect on yourself and the more you're able to work through a lot of those challenges in taking care of your, mental health, physical health, all of that stuff, the more apt you're going to be willing to accept information that's contrary to your belief.
Yeah.
Because when you're in a mindset that you're protecting yourself, you don't want to hear anything outside of your own opinion.
Yeah. And not just that, but I think with me, it's personally with my anxiety and the things that I struggle with, it's allowed me to hear and accept from you that things are different. It's not going to be that way, how it always has ended up, or those situations are not going to happen again because I have that safety net with you and I am able to trust you and you've allowed me to see to whereas before it's just is happening again and it always has. I've never been able to see another perspective or another outcome other than what I've always experienced before.
So the takeaway from there is, I mean, to strengthen your marriage, you really should focus on self-care.
Yeah.
You have to be willing to work on yourself. And I mean, we've even talked about, you cannot love another person if you don't love yourself.
I've always told you that from day one.
Yeah. It took me a while to hear it, but it is important. As I would venture to say it's the most important part of a marriage. Outside of that, there are a few other things that can help you protect your marriage, right? The community you surround yourself with. can help you
Mhm.
protect your marriage. Because, and we do say a lot that we don't have a lot of friends, but we do have a few. I think the relationships we have now, though, are really centered around people that are good for us
Yeah.
in our marriage. They don't bring tension. They don't bring, whether that's family, friends, whatever community you surround yourself with, right? Because you don't, as much as we would like to be completely introverted in our own little bubble,
Yeah.
again, you do not live in a society and survive without having relationships outside. I mean, and studies show that, again, I could get into all of that with social integration and all of
Yeah.
that. But even in a marriage, it's imperative that you're able to surround yourself with other couples, other people that help promote your marriage, that are
Yeah.
not. I know that there are individuals that I know that I no longer really associate with, but that I know that if I hung out with them, it would be, we're not doing things that are conducive to the marriage that we have.
Yeah.
Like they're going to go out and we're going to go out and do things that don't necessarily align with the goals that we have. So I have prioritized, and that's one of those things where you prioritize your marriage, but you find people that you're able to gravitate toward that are like minded, share the same goals. We have a few friends that we have date nights with.
Yeah, and I think it's just people that add to your marriage and encourage your marriage instead of the opposite. Try to isolate you or try to persuade you differently or
And just making sure that you're checking in with people and your mentors, if you're going to counseling, that you're checking in with your counselors. I mean, just, that people that are adding value to your mental health, your marriage, yourself, your sense of self is important for a marriage, because you still have to be able to have a little bit of an outlet outside of your person, right?
yeah.
Not that we will ever discuss what's happening in our marriage with anybody else or anything like
No.
that, but you
No.
still have to have somebody in your life that you're able to bounce ideas off of. Or
Yeah, or share perspectives
right.
or have something in common that you can do together or it's not about having outside sources so that you can be emotional or intimate or have these deep conversations with about your life and your relationship. It's more about just surrounding yourself with people that have your same mindset and have a respect for you and your marriage and your boundaries and not inviting people in that say don't have respect for those boundaries or don't have the same type of mindset that you do.
Now that's the big one. Is I think a lot of the times we tend to prioritize relationships with people out of sheer, I guess, loyalty that you may not even really align with anymore, but you guys have
Mhm.
just known each other for so long that you feel it almost obligated
Obligated.
to continue seeking that relationship or whatever it may be. And I don't even know where I heard it or where I saw it, but I saw a clip or something where the guy was talking about relationships. And I mean, he says it, right? That, not everybody that comes into your life is meant to stay in your life. People are going to come into your life in the phases of your life that are supposed to match your energy. And you should prioritize the learning that you get from those people.
Yeah. Sometimes they're just a lesson and not forever.
And the final bit of advice I would say is, and we talk about it a ton, the daily practices or rituals that help strengthen your bond, whether it helps you strengthen it on an intimate level, on just a mentality conversation level. I mean, we have our daily text messages that we're very intentional about. I mean, we're talking all day anyway, but we do have a very
Those are
set,
just very intentional.
yeah, we have a very set ritual in the morning.
But all of those things just add to that protection. That's part of protecting
Right.
your marriage and your relationship and your bond. It's not, it's maintaining it, yes, but it's also protecting it at the same time.
And then finding things, whether it's weekly or monthly, where you can really just focus on your marriage. I mean, I would say for us, we've got a weekly ritual of just us time on the weekend, whether it's watching wrestling, watching documentaries, whatever it may be, but it's just us being very intentional with each other, spending time.
Even if it's playing Fortnite.
Yeah, I mean, just being in each other's presence, but it is no distractions. I mean, yes, sometimes we'll doom scroll together, but it's not with the intention of,
We need the distraction.
yeah,
It's the intention of we're laying together and we're watching it
yeah, we're
together
just
and enjoying it together.
so it's one of those things that you need to find, and it's different for everybody. I mean, I'm not going to say some people have a monthly date night. I mean, we tried that, but we just can't pull ourselves away to go out in public that often. An annual retreat. We do have a little bit of that where we'll at least try to hit
Yeah.
jackpot once-ish a year for a night just to go kind of let loose.
Yeah.
And
I think it's just too hard for us to be away from the kids. And I think too, even for us, having those face to face conversations versus texting about everything. I mean, there's a lot of things that we do text about and we resolve or, disagree or whatever via text, but having those face to face conversations is also important and a part of that.
And like I say, it may be different for other people. It helps us, but at the end of the day, it's about finding whatever you and your partner gravitate to so that you can find that intentional moment in time that you're solely focused on each other and your relationship and your shared vision and goals of the future. We have had, and it's not really a scheduled thing, but we do know that when we're having these types of conversations, like that's it. Those are the conversations we're having. We're not on our phones. We're not
Right. Yeah.
where we will talk through our goals. We will talk through what we are envisioning for the future. We will talk through what scares us in the moment, what challenges us in the moment, because you're a team. You have to be able to have that unified front. And if your partner doesn't know where you're headed and they're heading in a different direction, that does not protect your marriage in the long. Hopefully, you got some useful insights out of this topic. We were a little bit hesitant just because protecting a marriage is very sacred to individuals and what they do, and the other side of that is everybody's going to have their own perspective on this topic on what needs to happen.
Yeah.
But really, the key point is that your marriage should be as much of a priority in your life as you are, because that is your person. That is the person that you have committed to spending the rest of your life with. That is the person that you're supposed to be building with. I mean, you're one in the same once you're married, so you should function that. So
Protect what is priority.
with that, I do wish you all a blessed week, and please continue sharing your light with others.